Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the Wuben H4 headlamp. First of all, thank you to Wuben for sending this along for review. They provided this free of charge for review purposes. However, they did not provide any financial compensation. They didn't have any early access to this video, and they had no input into what I say in it. This is just my experience having used the H4 for a period of time now. That said, let's go ahead and jump into a quick size comparison. Starting off with channel staples, a 91 and 58mm Sasami knife. A little bit of a kind of girth comparison. And into the flashlight relevant world of a AAA and AA. And for a little bit of a touch base on headlamps, this is the Perrin Mini 2. Going on into a design overview. First of all, color-wise, this is available in white. It's also available in black, and they also do a sand khaki kind of color. The strap, which comes included, does have reflective elements to it, so it also acts as a little bit of a safety tool at night, as well as the bright color. The inside has this kind of silicone band. You can kind of see here it only is on one part of the strap, and this is to add just some grip to it. Here we have 3 emitters up front, 2 buttons on top. In terms of rotation, it is hinged at the bracket point here, and we'll go all the way down. In terms of how this guy opens, we have a clasp here that, when popped open, reveals a battery pack. This battery pack is USB-C rechargeable. However, if you take this out, this will then just straight take 3 AAAs, so you can use your existing rechargeables or disposables you pick up if you need to. And although it's hard to see on the bottom here, we do have an LED indicator as well as a sensor, which we will get into shortly. Now onto the specs. Again, feel free to pause if you would like to read this in more detail. This is IP68 water resistant with 1.2 meter drop resistance, weighs about 49 grams or 1.73 ounces. Now, as I mentioned, there are 2 main emitters as well as a red light. The floodlight comes in at 4000 Kelvin with a 15 lumen low at 33 hours, a medium of 150 lumens for 5 hours, and a high of 300 lumens for 3 hours. The spotlight has 15 lumen low at 33, a medium of 150 at 5 hours, and a high of 300 lumens for 3 hours at 6500 Kelvin. Now, turbo uses both emitters at the same time, and that's going to give you a peak of 800 for 1 minute before stepping down to 350 lumens for a following 2.3 hours. Now, the red light is going to be 15 lumens consistently or constantly on, that's 18 hours. Beacon is 90 hours, and SOS is 26 hours. Now, in terms of your UI, you do have 2 buttons. This is basically respective of the spotlight and the flood, and they are kind of tactile, so you can feel without looking if you can't remember which side. Circular for spark, and then these spread out dots for flood. Now, this basically is very straightforward. For most times, it's going to be acting like a regular flashlight. You want one side, you press it, comes on, and then you get press and hold to ramp through. If you want the other side, just pressing the button whilst turned on or off will go to the other emitter. I got that backwards a little bit. That's the spot and that's the flood. Press and hold, go through. Now I will say that this does have mode memory, and the mode memory appears to be shared between. So if we put this down to low on this emitter, and then we come over to this emitter and we put this on high, it will then carry across. So unfortunately, there's no split mode memory, which would be nice, but there is some degree of mode memory. If you want the red emitter, you just press and hold either of these buttons from off, and the red emitter in the middle will come on. And then this does also have different flashing for the red. So just pressing will cycle through, beacon, SOS, and then back over to constant, press and hold to turn off. This does have gesture control. So here we have some sensors, and there is a LED in the bottom that also indicates that is active. So to turn that on, whilst it's, let's put that down a little, whilst it's turned on in any mode, you just press and hold both buttons, and you see you have this breathing LED on the bottom, and then you can just wave on and off. And it is just a simple on-off gesture. And then if you press any of the buttons, it will just turn off normally. And for turbo, it's just a double click of either button, and you'll get both emitters turned on. So you get that combined spot and flood. And it may not be when this video goes live, but there will be beam shots up here in a card. From playing around with it and from what I can see in the manual, I don't think, I could be wrong, I could just be missing it, but I don't think this has a lockout. So let's go ahead and jump into the pros of the Wuben H4. First of all is the overall size. This is a single strap style headband. There's no over the top strap to support the weight, and it is all in the front. So if you have too much weight up front, it's going to fatigue your head and generally be uncomfortable. I found that this is probably on the upwards of the comfortable range for me personally, but this is very comfortable. I've been using this as the nights have been closing in for deliveries as it gets dark in the evenings, and this has done a very good job, especially not having to think about which way to turn on an emitter. A lot of the times you have a setup where you have a power button and then a mode button, and then you have to remember which is which, and yeah, this is a very intuitive indeed, and I find that the quality of the light and the brightness is very good. The articulation, whilst it isn't the most comfortable to use, in my opinion, is very, very handy, very useful. It is also very visible at night. It does feel like adding an extra layer of almost high vis on when you put this on. And as somebody that has to stop at random points on a road and get out in the dark, all the visibility is just adding to my safety. I also really like the ingenuity here out. Maybe other headlamps do this in terms of my exposure to lights. Headlamps is probably my least covered thing, although I do have quite a good history with them. This best of both worlds, where you have a rechargeable lithium-ion battery pack with USB-C, and you can also use traditional commonly available cells, which you can also use lithium in if you want to spend more to get the better performance, or if you want to use nickel metal hydride to get rechargeable. This is a great setup that adds a lot of versatility, and I've never seen this done. I really do appreciate this. Overall, I do also appreciate just the aesthetic of this. This is a very stylish, I think, modern looking headlamp. I do think that this is, considering the aesthetic somewhat in its design, with these nice rounded corners, and the whole thing is just kind of a soft touch kind of plastic, apart from this smoky gray on the bottom, and it just is a nice product overall. It's well built, and I think a lot of effort has gone into it. And lastly, price. I do think that this is a very reasonably priced. This is about $30 or £30, and you can always use sales or discount codes, coupons, and there will be links to this down below that will help the channel should you wish to purchase this. I think this is a very reasonably priced light, especially considering it is coming with that lithium-ion battery pack as well. So even though you have the option of AAA, it does come included with a rechargeable option. Now onto the negatives, or things that just clash a little bit for me. First of all is how you open this. So as you can see, we have this little clasp mechanism here where you just have to get under, and then you can pry that off. Now this is rated IP68. This clearly has ratings. It has passed certain tests. I cannot in any good conscience use this for a prolonged period of time without an innate fear of this breaking. Maybe it's just a history of using cheap electronics. The world of plastics is wide and varied, and it is 2025. But and I'm not saying that this has happened to me or anyone else, I'm just saying this is how I feel. I just feel this will break at some point. And especially since this is how you are accessing the battery to recharge it. There's no external charging port that you can use instead. this is going to be seeing quite regular use, as well as just generally when you're grabbing the front of the light to actuate it, you're probably putting some degree of stress on this as well. I don't feel like that is going to super last, but I could be wrong. And if you've been using the H4 since it was released and you've had no issues, because I've just been using this not super heavily, but over the last several weeks, a little bit on and off, let me know down below. Next is this actuation. Again, this actuation is plastic on plastic. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? It works. You can see that we have the geared mechanism here for the different positions. But we have plastic ratcheting on plastic, which is just these two plastic tabs in the back. And if these two plastic tabs were to break from either use, age, dropping it so that the back of the headband hits, if those break, then if one of them breaks, then it's compromised. If both of them break, then you just have no means of controlling it or keeping it in place. I have no idea if that is a warrantable or replaceable part. I don't know if you could mount that in yourself, because I guess you could pull this out and then put a new one on. I just feel like that and this are failure points waiting to happen. On a more minor note, just if you're going to be picking one of these up, whilst white and the khaki are lighter colors, and that's going to help with visibility at night, the white particularly is going to pick up dirt and grime and look kind of nasty if you don't keep it clean, and I think age just not as well visually, so just bear that in mind. Next up, the gesture control works. I'm sure gesture control is a valuable tool for some people. I'm sure there are people where you have movement of your hands, but you can't or don't want to touch the buttons, and that is useful. For me personally, I have never experienced a time where I would rather use gesture control than button use, but I have had times of using gesture control, not just specifically on this, just in general, across different headlamps, where gesture control has made things worse. So I have also a Olight H2 array, the gesture headlamp. And with that, I found that fog complicated things a little bit, as well as just moving around objects. Say you open a door and you move past the door and the door goes past the sensor, or you're working, say, underneath a bonnet or underneath a car, and like just objects passing by gave trouble for that. Now, I've not been using motion detection on this besides just basic testing, how it works, how reliable it was. I've not been doing extensive testing of that out and about because I don't have a good history with gesture control on headlamps, and I don't want that hassle at work. So I guess the negative here is it may not be super reliable compared to button use, and I don't see why. At the end of the day, the motion sensors are eating up space here, and they're eating up cost. If you didn't have the motion control, then this would surely be lighter, could potentially be smaller, and you are wearing this on your head, so both kind of matter. And you could even drive the price down maybe a couple of dollars, because I think most people that are going to be buying this won't use the gesture control. I think a good portion of the people buying this may not realize or will probably forget gesture control exists. I also think that whilst the red light is here and it has a good amount of spot to it, it's very limited, I think. When you have such little power of 15 lumens, having it in this direct spot feels like the worst of all worlds, because it's concentrated enough that it can still be blinding to you when you're up close and it's bouncing off of things. But it's still not bright enough that it's going to be throwing into the distance well enough for you to necessarily use for walking and whatnot. So I would rather this at this power just be more of a flood rather than a spot like it is now. I feel that'd be more useful, and I would rather have multiple brightnesses in red light. If you're going to include a red light, make it more useful. And just UI wise, I would rather just press to turn off like the rest of the light. But overall, My gripes with this are quite minor, really. A lot of nitpick and a lot of personal preference. I've had a lot of good use out of this. This has been a good, reliable headlamp on nights out working, and this little silicone strap has been very supportive, very locked in. Like, you wouldn't think that this would secure it to your head as well as it does, but this works really well, and I would love to see this on more straps, to be honest. And if you're looking for a reasonably priced headlamp, I think the H4 could be right for you if you like the features that you're seeing. And if you want a motion gesture controlled headlamp that's just basic on off, honestly, I think that this might work for you as well if you're into that kind of thing. That's just what I think. Let me know what you think of the Wuben H4 down in the comments below. Whilst you're there, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe. And if you'd like to get your own, please check the links. They do help support the channel. Until next time, I've been Paul, and I'll see you in the next video.